Hey, welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be sharing with you how to revise for A-level psychology, but just a quick thing before I get into that, I just want to give a quick shout out to mn_2022 and Punny Puns, who are two of my subscribers who always comment on my videos. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Your engagement with me in the comment section means so much. I love when you guys comment and interact with me, and thank you to everyone who leaves a like, because the more people engage with the channel, the more it gets spread to other people and the more our community grows. So thank you very much. But yeah, let's get straight into how to revise for A-level psychology so that you can get the best grade possible. It's been 6 years since I did my A-levels, but I still do remember how I did my revision, even though I don't know all the topics off by heart anymore. And obviously the curriculum has probably changed a little bit since I've left sixth form. My revision timetable was a bit extreme. I did 12 hours a day for like 1 to 2 months. I did 4 hours of revision on and then 1 hour break repeatedly every single day for about a month or two leading up to my exams. I know it's extreme, so you don't have to do it like that. Do whatever works for you in terms of your timing, your location, your concentration levels. The first thing I did was pick a location different to where I normally revise. So instead of revising in my room, I revised in the living room where I had more space, and whenever everybody was out, I would take the time to revise in there, and it was really quiet. So having like a big dining table to fit all my paper, my books, my pens, highlighters, everything I needed was really important, because we had a dining room. And I know not everybody has the luxury of space, but if you can revise in a different location, apparently some research shows that it helps your memory to improve and you can remember things better when you're in a different location. So try that if you can, or at least if you can't revise in a different room, maybe switch up your room if you can. Whatever you do, just make sure that there's little to no distraction if you can make it happen. The second thing I did was switch off my phone and leave it in another room. Yes, don't even pretend. We all know our phones are a big distraction, especially when you're trying to do something important. Suddenly your phone becomes the most interesting thing in the world. Suddenly you can't keep your phone out of your hands. Don't lie to yourself and say, I can study or revise with my phone, or I need my phone to revise. No, use a laptop, use a tablet, use another device that's not yours or that doesn't have all your apps on there, like your phone, because the distraction will prevent you. And next thing you know, 5 hours would have gone and you've barely done any revision. So for me, like I said, I was revising in the dining room, so I would shove my phone, leave it in my bedroom under my pillow, and then I'd use it for my 1 hour break, and that was it. The third thing I did was get gigantic A2 pieces of paper. So my mum got me them from like a stationery shop. You can get them probably on Amazon today. That huge, yeah, that like can cover like probably half your body. So on there I would write about one topic. So maybe one, depending on how big each topic was, I would maybe have 2 topics on one paper, or maybe 1 topic on one paper, depending on how big the topic was. But if, like, for example, I had spaces for 2 topics, maybe the top one was relationships and the bottom one was media, I would then write bullet points. So maybe I would write the main theories, the main studies, and then I would write bullet points under each one based off the knowledge that I got from the textbook, which was given to me by my sixth form, obviously in line with the curriculum. So I would do this for every single topic. That's how I started my revision. So reading through, making sure that I already understood all the topics anyway, so that it would be easier for me when I was writing them. So I was writing based on what was in the book, of course, so that I wasn't making things up. So everything was bullet pointed and summarized rather than writing full details about stuff. And if I didn't know something well enough, then I would add a bit more information just to make my learning a bit easier. And then ultimately the goal was that once I finished writing out all these topics on the big A2 pieces of paper, I stuck them up in my room, and then I would start revising with reading them, going over them. I'd walk around my room literally like relationships, and then I'd start reading and expanding on the little points that I have on there and describing theories in details and talking about the different studies that were done and explaining them in detail. And if I wasn't sure that I was getting it right, or if I was forgetting some information, I would quickly check in my book just to refresh my memory, and I'd go over it until I could talk about every single topic with complete confidence based off the little bullet points and summaries that I'd put on the A2 piece of paper. So literally, and I will get on to how I memorize different names and theories in a bit, so keep watching. I don't know if they still do this today, but one thing I did do when I was revising for mine was we had an essay question. I think we had like 2 or 3 essay questions. I don't know if that's still the same today. So in order to memorize or get good grades on the essays, my teacher actually made us write the essays in lesson first. So leading up to Easter half term, she made us all write the essays for the questions that were going to come up. I think most teachers do this where they predict what's going to come up on the exam next year based off what came out last year and the previous years using the past papers. So we had gone through all of the past papers for like the last, I don't know how many years, and predicted which ones were most likely to come up and which ones were least likely to come up, because they used the same questions but in different ways. They worded it slightly different, so you knew which topic would come up essentially. So after we did that, then we had to write essays for all the questions that would come up, and then she marked them, and then if there was stuff missing from the essay, then we'd redo it again until we got a really, really good mark, or we were happy with the mark that we got from it based on her marking. I wrote up all the essays. I typed all of them. I think I typed maybe, I can't remember if it's 12 or 24 essays, but I'd like to think it was 24 because there's so many topics. I think there was 24 essays. So I wrote all of them, typed them out, and then stuck them on my wardrobe, and I memorized all 24 of them. But I memorized obviously the ones that were more likely to come up versus the ones that were least likely to come up, because I wouldn't waste time revising something that came up last year, because the chances of that coming up is very small. And of course, as predicted, the questions that I revised the most and that my teacher predicted to come up the most were the ones that came up in the exam, and I memorized it like that, and I just wrote it down in my exam from memory. So same thing I did with the 80 pieces of paper. With the essays, I think I probably highlighted some names or some key points on the essays, and then I walked around my room memorizing it off by heart, walking around my room, just memorizing it. And this is the part where I'm going to explain how I memorized the names and the theories when there were so many studies, right? So how I memorized the studies and the names and the theories was to make it interesting and relatable to things in my life. So I can't remember exactly which essay I had, because obviously I've thrown everything away. But for example, let's say with the prison experiment, I would apply it maybe to something like Prison Break, you know, the show on Netflix, even though I've never watched it. Let's say I apply the characters from the Prison Break show and call them by the names of the researchers. And then I imagine Prison Break as the experiment that was done. And then that way I would remember exactly how it went, because I've applied it to a favorite TV show that I like. So maybe the 2 main characters, instead of calling them by their actual name in the show, I call them by the name of the researchers of the study in real life. And then how the experiment was done, I'll just apply it to the show. I don't know what the plot line of Prison Break is, so sorry if that doesn't make sense. Maybe another show, Orange is the New Black, maybe, because that's also set in prison. So maybe you could apply it to that, make it relatable to something that you know and that you like. And when you're in the exam, you will just remember, oh, in Prison Break, it was this person and this person that did the study in this year, and then in season 1 this happened, this was the part of the study, and then this happened, and you can apply it to the characters in the show. And I hope that makes sense. And I hope it helps. But that's what I did. So for the relationship studies as well, you could apply it to people in your life, you could apply it to your parents and apply the study to them, or people that you know, or you know, another TV show or something memorable that's relatable, and apply the names to people that you know in real life. That might make it a lot easier. So the 5th thing that I did to revise my A-levels was to do past papers and mark them. Like I said, I don't know how things work today, if it's still the same thing, but I did all my past papers as many times as necessary. I repeated some of them because repetition helps with memorizing things and remembering things as well. So if you got a certain question wrong last time, chances are when you're redoing that paper, you're going to remember what you got wrong the last time. Like that, it's sealed in your memory, right? What I used to do was I used to time myself. So I would put myself in exam conditions, quiet, and I'd put like a timer on my phone or whatever device I was using. That is the only time you can use your phone. I put a timer on, exam conditions, no distractions. I tell everyone in the house, don't disturb me, I'm doing my revision. And I would do the exam as if it was real. And then once it's done, and then I go through the marking scheme and see where I got things wrong, highlight things, try to understand why you got things wrong, even if it means repeating the exam papers until you get a really, really good grade. Also, with the exam papers, try and do them from the oldest exam papers to the most recent ones, because like I said, the stuff that was on the paper last year is very unlikely to come up on the paper that you're going to do this year or next year, right? So try and do the oldest papers first, because the questions that are in the older papers are most likely to come up. The 6th thing that I did was I focused on my weakest points and the things that I struggled with the most, maybe the things that I didn't enjoy the most because I struggled to remember it. So maybe like research methods, I gave more energy and time to those so that when the exam came around, I wouldn't feel super nervous that, oh, there's this one topic that I don't like. Because what happens when half of the exam is based on that topic that you don't like and that you just couldn't be bothered to give your energy to. So if there's a topic that you feel really weak about, struggle with a lot, combine them and give them time specifically in your revision timetable to focus on them so that you feel a bit more confident, because it would be just a nightmare if your exam came up with all the things that you struggle with and you did not give your time and energy to. The seventh thing I did was actually revise on FaceTime with my friend sometimes. It wasn't more so of a revision, it was more so like a conversation about the things we'd learned. So maybe I'd be like, oh, I don't really get this topic, or I'm struggling with this part, and if it was her strength or something she was really good at, she would explain it to me in a different way that made more sense. And same thing for me, she would ask me stuff, and sometimes we'd quiz each other. We'd ask each other questions about topics or certain studies and theories, and we'd go back and forth and just test each other's knowledge. But having somebody to kind of revise with you and go back and forth on the knowledge is really, really helpful. And it also makes revision a little bit more fun, because me and her, like, we would crack a lot of jokes as well, so it made revision feel like it was fun and it wasn't hard work. So don't do too much of that. First of all, this was like towards the end of our revision, so we had done all the hard work first, and this was towards the end, just to make sure that we were both ready. Don't let this be your main revision strategy. Do the hard work first. Like, you never know. The thing that was really good about this is, like, imagine like you and your friend are revising these topics, and then you're sitting near each other in the exam, hopefully, and you look over at your friend, something that's in the exam reminds you of the conversation you had with your friends, and the answers come back. So it might be really helpful that way. So you got this. I believe in you. Good luck with your exam, and you're gonna absolutely smash it. Don't forget to take regular breaks. Work to a timetable that suits you. You don't have to follow my timetable of 4 hours on, 1 hour off. And make sure you get as much sleep as you can the night before the exam. Please, please, please. I know you might be nervous. Even if you have a nightmare about your exam, you know, don't let that stop you from thinking that you got this, because I definitely had a few bad dreams about my exams. You got this. So I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.